Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for joining all these new token engineers. I think Nick is gonna join us in some minutes, and she will be like giving us this tour with the designs that we are contributing all to the library.
Okay.
And thank you for introducing this whole library area. I think it's great that we can just show all the work we have been doing here and all the excitement we have to bring this to reality. And I guess when Nick joins, or we can just start with a tour with the different energies we have here. I think it's super interesting. The section where you were showing before, like we came up with this tokenomics or all these different roles we're having in the library. And I want to say that this is an idea that came from E.O. Wilson, that is a physicists that decided that we really need all to jump in knowledge in all the disciplines to kind of create some consilience in all the endeavors and all the work we do. So our Consilience Library name comes from this physician researcher, and that's what we aspire to do, like all coming together to jump this discipline. And that's the general idea.
But exactly, consilience, the jumping of knowledge together, that was basically what we thought in token engineering was exactly what it is that we're also trying to get at, right? We can just jump into just one question. I think now you see it. This is the token engineering, or the cryptoeconomic flower. Who doesn't know it yet, or who sees it for the first time, or who knows it but would like to share some either agreement, disagreement with their experience in token engineering or cryptoeconomics, and also this quote of E.O. Wilson, I think it's what definitely drives us in Omega, and also with this initiative of the Consilience Library, that we are drowning in information while starving for wisdom. And the world henceforth will be run by synthesizers. Of course, my lens is less of a power, and I have some issues when someone says the world will be run by. But in general, I agree that synthesis of knowledge, especially when we think about the token engineering world, is super important, and it will definitely drive our progress. And that is something we've been trying to get a handle on ever since the beginning. In 2019, with the first token engineering global gathering, first hackathons. So we are always very, very short on learning resources. We have the Token Engineering Academy, which is immense success, right? But still, it's not enough bandwidth and not enough versatility for all of the people coming in, wanting to learn, wanting to get a foothold of token engineering. And also, it's not straightforward. It's a great research domain. So yes,
maybe we can just have Nick give this tour. I just want to clarify that within all this work we have been doing and these conversations, we have been using this kind of regenerative way of working and thinking and trying to reconcile all the disciplines. And we in Omega have always been very connected into what energy is, what's the value of the work we're creating, how do we want to, let's say, organize or account for the energies we are using. So I think this reflection in this work have led us to design a lot of prototypes or wireframes or new ways to kind of consilience all this knowledge. So we envision this library as a creative effort, but also as something that can make the token engineering discipline to thrive, really. So all these participants in this group have been contributing with different energies and different designs. So we hope to bring this into reality, this specific section, which is like our condensed knowledge. And we're in a way doing all these kind of different designs, hoping to build it, to create a library which is useful for participants, for the discipline itself, and to create a kind of organizing library for groups to learn and for us to reflect on what we do here in token engineering in our lives too, because we are participating in this kind of experiment as well. So we are also trying to create better ways to work. Mm-hmm. So maybe all the designers can just present their designs when Nick gives the general tour, and they can just maybe contribute with the admin or having questions from the other people.
Yeah. So just to revisit, and then I'll give over to Nick. Just to reframe. So basically, this is the current work and contributors. One area that we really want to have test curations. Omega curation is one, hoping to get Refi, Bootcamp curation of LTF, and then also getting feedback from the curators, right? What is it that they would appreciate, they would need? What is the experience of a curator? So, within the vacuum and StreamerD, Satori, they've been jamming and they come up with this really cool idea of an NFT. I hope you guys get the chance to explain that a little bit. But then in general, we have also multiple designs, like how could the experience, the novelty, right? How could that be? And that would be something actually, if we get feedback from potential curators and learners who are here, that would be really fantastic. Nick, are you ready to take on?
Yeah, I can jump on if you're able to hear me.
Yes, perfect.
This library, as Letty said, we're encouraging permissionless participation. So this means that the people who are contributing to the project, they're following what energizes them to contribute. So what emerged from that are multiple work streams. So we have, I'm going to just be going over like the general work streams. So we have Mert, Steph, Satori, and Letty working together on their own version of the library wireframes. They have the MVP spec here as well for you to view. Everything's linked in the Figma. And you can see the wireframes here. So we have a desktop version of the library wireframe at the moment with the homepage, and then once you click on the cryptoeconomic flower, you'll be able to see the cards for that, the cards for the curation for that petal. And then once you click on the card, you'll be able to see the curation itself with an area for discussions as well for learners to be able to discuss more about the curation. They're also going to be working on a self-discovery game as an entry point. It will be NFT based. I'm sure they can give you some more information about that as well. It's still in the works. And they're thinking of having the back end of the library be based in Kumu. We're just still figuring out how to act, like if Kumu has like an API for that they can use. And another thing that emerged is within the vacuum started designing these mandalas for each petal, and then from there came the idea to come up with like a frequency image algorithm, which the curators can then mint as an NFT. It will generate a different image every time, so it'll be completely unique. And then I also started working on my own version of the wireframes and the strategy and architecture, and there's going to be like an onboarding game that participants can take part in as well. From there, Steph started jamming on the architecture that I worked on and came up with his version of the visual elements. And you can see the website strategy and the features that we're thinking of having here, and the architecture that I worked on as well, with potential for minting NFTs for learners' epiphanies and minting NFTs for curators. So whenever a learner shares how they benefited from the curation, they can get an NFT of that. And possibly an NFT as well for participating in the onboarding game.
That's super cool. I just wanted to add that those NFTs, as you say, like people's personal experience and their personal curation keywords and words, like all of that makeup that makes a curation unique, right? The algorithms that Satori, within the vacuum, Streamly, etc. are working on takes in that content and that contribution and creates basically a unique representation, a unique visual, and if I'm not mistaken, audio, some musical representation, and in the same way could be with the insights, right, or the epiphanies, Nick, as you say, like actually.
I wanted to add really quickly that Jean and the Dynamic Energy Budget Group is also working on doing research to create a library reward system based on dynamic energy budget models. So we've been looking into Bataille's work and dynamic energy budget as well. And regenerative workflows too being worked into the library reward system that we are testing on ourselves right now.
Always be dog fooding. So from the contributors, Matt, Satori, Steph.
Actually yesterday me, Shamer D, and within the vacuum we're talking, and basically it's the same thing about, because those mandalas are built out of the words, and so like the first movement to do that is you get the word and then you reflect it back on itself, and then you rotate it, you pick an axis and you rotate it. And so like when we're thinking about that, we're like, okay, what else can we combine with it? And then we're like, we started thinking about like combining mandalas together. Also too, the thing that was interesting is that based with the music, we were thinking of like using the flower and using the scales, like the musical scales, because we're also wanting to create a repository using this coding where you do loops and you sample different musical instruments and you create a loop, and so that's like a basis for a theme music, for a song, and all of this kind of like combines together to like what we're thinking about connecting those parts of those threads in the flower. And so these create as you go on your journey, I think when you get your back and forth through these feedback loops, you're gonna modify and learn these words, right? And feedback loop, and those become the basis of your mandala. And I was calling them like mandala spores. And so like you get like a little one, and then you combine them, and you keep on combining them as you go on your journey to create this bigger mandala that within the vacuum keeps on like expanding like the possibilities of it. And he showed us this huge one with like all this text that was combined into it. And so that's basically the latest on using the words to create like a mandala. And then like,
And also this example is what we see is it just used words, for example, on the economics and game theory petal, it just used those words, right? But if we imagine a curation that is transdisciplinary and goes over computer science, game theory, AI optimization, and psychology decision science, for example, right? And we have a collective curation on those, then that collective's curation will have a specific mandala and the theme song, if you will, that will hopefully, number one, get people more curious, and number two, also be a nice reward for those curious minds who are into algorithms and transdisciplinary building.
I could add
go ahead.
A couple of words on that. Yeah, yesterday we learned pretty much how within the vacuum doing that, mirroring the existing words, and then giving them an initial angle, and then rotates them, and then they make those each mandala visually. There was an idea about like, hey, let's maybe match. We also tried like, hey, when there is an interdisciplinary condition, like two leaves come together from the flower. In that case, we initiated that visual rotation and mirroring, and his way of doing that with two words. And then for the music, we would take those as inputs, and as kind of initiation would be matching each petal like with an instrument. I used one orchestra library, and there are like scales, getting some inputs with their feedback also from time to time, building new artwork, so to say. It's audio-visual form, kind of merged into one NFT, and those maybe a texture that made them would be included in description or anything could be. So we kind of named that, hey, like orchestrate your knowledge, like a learning path.
Wow.
You contribute.
So definitely, it goes towards the novelty aspect, and also a big issue or a big question was like, what is the reward that we can give to those curators who, I'm in LTF doing the boot camp in parallel to their literally client work, and then we're asking them to contribute on top of everything, to think about how they could make from that work come out a curation for the library. So I believe this gift, which is very novel, and which can really become, we say it has hedonistic value. Tokens can have hedonistic value. So I think that definitely strikes a chord there for token engineers who want to play with the possibilities, right, of digital assets, which you very well show here. So let's get into one or two more, and then at the end I will ask one of you to show people before they leave Omega Test curation channel, so they get an idea, okay, how we just put together the curations. I just said maybe let's go into one more aspect.
Yeah. Okay. So basically we had like two things happening. There were many things happening, but like two things that I put together in the last week was like the architecture. That was something that Nick was working on a lot. So there's the whole thing that was just discussed about with Satori and the games. Then there was the cryptoeconomic flower and the whole part of the library, and that's where Mert also started to work on the library wireframes in the Miro. So basically I combined this into a visual design, and the idea of like what Mert actually also proposed was to see a bit this website as a kind of example of how actually the interface could work. So to have this kind of not everything visible at once, but to have this kind of form of where you scroll and like just this website as an example of like how the navigation could happen and how the visual transitions happens and all these things. And then what I did was I just put together like the visual elements, I cleaned them up a bit. It's like these designs that I made for the previous version and for the Notion. So I made like high resolution, and I kind of separated that you don't have the background with them, that they're just like, that they're separated and that they're very easy to work with. So this is all in a kind of GitHub repository. And you can also see like which, I think here you can already see some CSS things and like what you can use them for. So the whole thing was about creating something that would look like a mock-up of a potential website. So here would be an introduction video about it. This would be a navigation, a connect wallet, a play game, enter library. So if you would push this button or this button, you would go into the navigation of the flower. Then depending where you would click on the flower, because now also the petals are separated, and where you would click on the overlaps. I didn't do all the titles yet. Then you would get a combination of like two themes, so two petals. And then have some curations, and then if you would click on the curation, you would have like a reader template and a subscribe. The title, you could always go back to the navigation, or you could also have like a media template with like video and like curation. So this is just like a visual idea of what the library could be. Then the same with like the games. So if you go to the games, you would have all these different games that you could click on, connect your wallet to it, and then like have a different template with like NFT cards or a kind of a form. So each of the backgrounds are different. So that's a bit the idea also, that the whole background idea would always change. Then here I didn't work so much yet on it because I needed some feedback, but here is basically for onboarding, user profiles, like everything that happens on the dashboard when you would get actually connected. So yeah, there's just like all these templates that I've been working on a little bit on, like trying to get it connected. And then of course also for the energy analytics, some kind of like view on the budget. And
Cool.
okay, that's it. And then like how this would flow would be with some kind of thing that resonates.
Nice. Cool. So we can definitely, I can definitely see, and I see also now we need some test curations in a sense, so that we see, okay, for example, the Omega curation, when we upload it or when we basically do the metadata and categorize and connect it appropriately, then basically that Omega curation would highlight different petals, right? And then basically if I connect onto one petal, then I could see different curations that also are in that petal. So I could then go into Omega curation or Refi LTF curation. So that type of number one, what do the curations show us? And number two, what is the most sensible navigation for someone who wants to learn? And maybe we will still have a plain old text version of it for people with, bandwidth issues or what have you on the go. But definitely super cool. Do you want to show our Omega curation? We have 2 more minutes left, and maybe this is also for a recording that we can send to others. And when we say, okay, this is how we should be doing the curation.
Yeah, like the call to action is, we have been tagged in the Omega Collective curation channel. So we will be curating there. The question we ask ourselves is, what free resources have we been most useful for me to come to token engineering? So you can share there a paper or a book or something you find inspiring to join this kind of discipline. And all people that are in this call have been tagged in this channel, the Omega Collective one. And I just want to share that this is like kind of an inspiring project for us to be able to reflect on what inspired us too. Like we are here doing this kind of socioeconomic structures and we are learning along the way. So this library is just a way or a tool to reflect on our work and also to kind of, inspire others and to use these creations to create and to have this kind of knowledge in this transdisciplinary fashion. So welcome everyone to the library and just keep creating this. Thank you for joining this call.
Wow, it's the first ever Omega call that comes to a conclusion at the planned hour. So Pedro, who else do I see? Irenios. Would you like to give feedback or some directions? Was it clear what the TE Consilience Library could be for you, or what do you expect from such a library in general? We would love to hear some voices from potential learners and potential curators. Please don't be shy.
I just wanted to comment and say that you've done a great job of holding this space, and it's obviously a challenge to try and solve a massive, complicated jigsaw puzzle. And so I think you guys are doing a great job of just honing in on the small snapshots and detailing what you've come up with so far. So I'm grateful to be part of the group.
Cool. Good. I'm just hoping and assuming that you will lurk around in the Omega collective curation test thread and look into how you might do you like the curation, for example, right? Is it of interest? Please feel free to comment, but also to get some ideas in which forms we could start these curations that are low effort for the curators. So Pedro, if you have some ideas, or we could help facilitate a curation while the Refi Bootcamp is ongoing as part of the experience of the Refi Bootcamp, but in parallel, basically, either the learners or all of us can help create an LTF Refi Bootcamp curation. I think that's one of those low-hanging fruits that we should definitely get into the first test as well. Then I would say let's not overextend. Thanks everyone. Also, I just echo Letty. Thank you everyone for participating. Wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much, everyone.